You are exhausted. Not just today, chronically, structurally exhausted, in a way that a full night of sleep never quite fixes. You lie down, close your eyes, and your brain refuses to stop. You scroll until your eyes burn. You wake at 3 a.m. with a list of things you forgot to worry about. You hit snooze 4 times and still feel like you got hit by something on the way to the kitchen. And yet, somehow, a human being living 50,000 years ago on an open savanna with no mattress, no blackout curtains, no melatonin gummies, and genuine predators in the darkness slept better than you. Not just differently, better. That fact should disturb you, because it means the problem is not your mattress. It is not your pillow. It is not even your phone. Not entirely. The problem is that your brain was built for a world that no longer exists, and it is paying the price every single night. Here is what the science actually shows. Anthropologist Jerome Siegel at UCLA spent years studying the sleep patterns of 3 of the last remaining hunter-gatherer societies on Earth: the Hadza of Tanzania, the San of Namibia, and the Chimane of Bolivia. What he found overturned almost everything modern sleep science assumed it knew. These groups averaged between 6 and 7.5 hours of sleep per night. Not 8, not 9. They did not go to sleep at sunset. They fell asleep several hours after dark, once the air temperature began to drop. And they woke naturally before or around sunrise. No alarm, no snooze, no groaning. They also almost never reported insomnia. Let that settle for a moment. 3 different populations, on 3 different continents, living without electricity or modern infrastructure, and essentially no one had trouble sleeping. Compare that to the modern world, where roughly 1 in 3 adults reports chronic sleep problems, and insomnia is one of the most common medical complaints on Earth. Something broke, and it did not break in their world. It broke in ours. The first thing that broke was light. For the vast majority of human evolution, the only light sources after dark were fire and moonlight. Both are warm in color, heavy in the red and orange spectrum, almost entirely lacking the blue wavelengths that flood modern environments from LED screens, overhead lighting, and phones. Your brain has a structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It sits in the hypothalamus, and it functions as your master biological clock. It is exquisitely sensitive to light, specifically to blue light, because for hundreds of thousands of years, blue light meant one thing and one thing only. The sky is bright and it is daytime. When your suprachiasmatic nucleus detects blue light, it sends a signal that suppresses melatonin production and raises alertness. It tells your entire system, stay awake, something is happening. Ancient humans sitting around a fire at night were bathed in orange and red light. Their suprachiasmatic nucleus read that correctly as evening. Melatonin began to rise. Core body temperature began to drop. The system prepared for sleep the way it was designed to. You, sitting under LED lights, scrolling a bright blue-white screen at 10 p.m., are telling your ancient brain that it is noon. Your melatonin is suppressed. Your alertness is artificially elevated, and then you are surprised that you cannot fall asleep when you finally put the phone down. You did not develop insomnia, you manufactured it. The second thing that broke was temperature. Siegel's research found that the hunter-gatherer groups he studied fell asleep as the night air cooled and woke as it began to warm again before dawn. Their sleep was tightly synchronized with the natural temperature cycle of the day. This is not coincidence. Your core body temperature needs to drop by approximately 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit to initiate and maintain deep sleep. That drop is triggered in part by the cooling of the environment around you. Modern humans sleep in temperature-controlled rooms that stay the same all night. There is no cooling signal. There is no warming signal at dawn. The environmental cues that your brain evolved to use as sleep triggers simply do not exist in the average bedroom. Your thermostat is quietly sabotaging your sleep cycle, and you probably never connected the two. The third thing that broke was time pressure. Ancient humans did not have a specific time they needed to be somewhere at 7 a.m. They did not have a meeting at 9. They did not have the ambient terror of knowing that if they did not fall asleep in the next 40 minutes, they would be exhausted for an important presentation tomorrow. They slept when the conditions were right, and they woke when their body was ready. Modern sleep is haunted. You do not just lie down to rest. You lie down while doing math. If I fall asleep right now, I will get 6 hours and 40 minutes. If I fall asleep in the next 20 minutes, I can still get 6 hours. The anxiety about sleep becomes its own enemy of sleep. Researchers call this orthosomnia, the obsessive pursuit of perfect sleep that makes sleep itself impossible. Your ancestors did not monitor their sleep. They did not track their sleep stages on a wrist device and wake up disappointed by their deep sleep percentage. They just slept, and their brains, unburdened by the performance anxiety of modern rest, did exactly what they were designed to do. The fourth thing that broke was consolidation. Here is something almost no one in the modern world knows. The idea that humans should sleep in one solid, unbroken 8-hour block is historically very recent. Historian Roger Ekirch spent decades researching pre-industrial sleep patterns and found overwhelming evidence that before artificial lighting became widespread, most humans slept in 2 distinct segments, separated by an hour or 2 of quiet wakefulness in the middle of the night. They called it first sleep and second sleep. Between them, people would lie awake, talk quietly with a partner, pray, reflect, or simply rest in a calm, half-conscious state. Then they would fall back into what was often described as their most vivid and memorable dreaming, the second sleep. This pattern, called segmented sleep or biphasic sleep, appears across medieval European literature, ancient Roman texts, African tribal accounts, and indigenous American records. It was not insomnia. It was the natural architecture of human sleep before we decided it had to be continuous. Which means that if you wake at 3 a.m. and cannot immediately fall back asleep, your brain is not malfunctioning. It may simply be doing exactly what it was designed to do for most of human history. The panic you feel in that moment, the dread, the clock watching, the catastrophizing, that is the modern edition. That is the part that does not belong. The fifth thing that broke was safety. This one is harder to measure, but perhaps the most important of all. When your nervous system feels genuinely safe, it allows the body to enter deep, restorative sleep. The parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, takes over. Cortisol drops. Heart rate slows. The brain begins its nightly process of cleaning, consolidating, and repairing. But your nervous system does not feel safe. Not really. Not in the way that a Hadza tribesperson sleeping in a group beside a fire with trusted companions feels safe. Your safety is abstract. You are not being hunted. But your brain is not entirely convinced of that. It scans, it rehearses, it replays the argument from last week, the email you should have sent differently, the bill that is due on Friday. The modern threat landscape is invisible and unresolvable. Ancient threats were physical and finite. You ran from the predator or you did not. The threat ended. Modern threats, financial stress, social anxiety, professional uncertainty, ambient dread about the future, have no resolution point. They do not end. And a nervous system that cannot find the resolution point cannot fully let its guard down, cannot fully release into deep sleep, stays just alert enough, just tense enough to rob you of the rest you need. You are not sleeping badly because you are weak or undisciplined. You are sleeping badly because you are running a 50,000-year-old security system in a threat environment it was never designed to handle. So what do you do with this? The answer is not to move into the wilderness and sleep beside a fire, though part of your brain probably finds that idea appealing right now. The answer is to understand what your brain actually needs and systematically give it back. Cool your room as you approach sleep. Let the temperature drop. Your brain is waiting for that signal and it will respond to it. Shift your light environment in the evening. warm, dim light in the hours before bed. The campfire your brain evolved beside was orange and low. You can approximate that without building an actual fire. Release the clock. Stop doing the math. The anxiety about not sleeping is often more damaging than the lost sleep itself. Your body has been sleeping without your micromanagement for hundreds of thousands of years. It knows what to do if you stop interfering. If you wake in the night and cannot return to sleep immediately, consider that this may be normal. Lie still. Let your mind rest, even if it is not fully sleeping. The wakefulness itself is not the enemy. The panic about the wakefulness is. And perhaps most importantly, understand that the chronic exhaustion you feel is not a personal failure. It is a systems mismatch. You are ancient hardware running in a world that updates faster than evolution can keep up with. The gap between what your brain was built for and what it actually experiences every night is real, and it is wide, and it is not your fault. But it is your responsibility to close it. Because somewhere inside you, underneath the alarm clocks and the blue light and the sleep tracking apps and the 3 a.m. dread, there is a nervous system that knows exactly how to rest. It has been doing it for 50,000 years. It has not forgotten. You have to stop getting in its way.